And just when he thought rock bottom had a basement, one midnight in a stranger's apartment changed everything. You're about to hear a true story about a broke single dad, a cold night, and an unlikely act of kindness that you won't believe actually happened. Body explanation. Let me introduce you to Arman. Arman used to have a normal life. Not rich, not poor, just normal. He worked as a cleaner at a mid-sized company. Nothing fancy. He'd come home tired, kiss his wife, play with his 3-year-old son, and sleep like a baby. That was the dream, right? Simple but steady. Then life flipped the table. His wife got sick. Not a cold. Something serious. Doctor said it would take time and money. Arman sold his car first, then his bike, then the small gold jewelry his mom had given his wife. But still, it wasn't enough. She passed away on a Tuesday morning. Arman says he still remembers the nurse turning off the machine. That beep going flat. That's the sound his old life ended with. After that, everything fell apart fast. He missed work because he couldn't find a babysitter. His boss cut his hours. Rent piled up. Landlord didn't care about his story, just wanted the money. 1 month later, he got an eviction notice. Just like that, Arman and his little boy were on the street. Now here's something most people don't understand about being homeless. It's not just about being cold or hungry. It's the shame. Arman would walk past his old office, building with a trash bag, full of clothes and his son in his arms, and his co-workers would walk right by. Not because they were mean, because they didn't recognize him anymore. That's what poverty does. It makes you invisible. Introduce a problem, challenge. So Arman is homeless, jobless, and a single dad. His son is only 3. At that age, a kid doesn't understand why there's no bed. Why dinner is a stolen banana from a hotel buffet. All he knows is that daddy is sad. And Arman? He's fighting a war inside his own head every single day. Should he give his son up to foster care? Should he beg? Should he steal? He tried the shelters. But most were full, and the ones that had space required him to be there by 6 p.m., but Arman was still working small-day jobs, washing dishes, sweeping floors, just to buy diapers and milk. He couldn't make the curfew. So most nights, he'd find a 24-hour laundromat or a bus that ran late. He'd put his son on his chest, zip up his jacket, and pretend they were just waiting for a train. One night, it was December 17th, freezing rain. The kind of cold that hurts your teeth. Arman had made $12 that day, enough for 2 hot dogs and a juice box. His son was shivering even under 2 hoodies. Arman knew if they stayed outside tonight, his kid could get really sick. Maybe pneumonia. He'd already lost his wife. He wasn't about to lose his son, so he did something desperate. He walked back to the office building where he used to work, the same one he got fired from. He knew the security code for the back door hadn't changed. 0917, his old manager's birthday. He sneaked in after midnight. His plan? Just stay in the stairwell for a few hours until the rain stopped. Exploration, development. But that night, something unexpected happened. The CEO of the company, a woman named Mira, was still working. Turns out Mira had been sleeping at the office for weeks. Her own marriage had just ended. She didn't want to go home to an empty house, so she buried herself in work. She was in the glass corner office on the 3rd floor, and she saw the security camera light flicker in the stairwell. Now, most CEOs would call the cops, but Mira didn't. She went down herself. And when she opened that stairwell door, she found Arman sitting on the concrete floor, his son asleep in his lap, both of them wrapped in a torn blanket. She recognized him immediately. Not because they were friends, but because Arman used to clean her office every night. She remembered that he always left a small chocolate on her desk. She never knew why. He later said it was because she worked late and seemed sad. She didn't yell. She didn't ask questions right away. She just said, "Follow me." She took them up to her office, unlocked a small storage room that had a couch, and said, "You can stay here tonight." Then she left and came, back with a cup of noodles and a baby blanket from her car. She didn't make him feel small. She didn't ask for an explanation. She just acted. That night, Arman didn't sleep. He held his son and cried quietly. Not from sadness, from relief. For the first time in months, they were warm. The next morning, Mira came in early with coffee and a question. But not the question you think. She didn't ask, "How did you lose your job?" Or, "Why are you homeless?" She asked, "What can you do?" Not what happened to you, what can you do? That one question changed everything. Armand told her he could clean, fix things, organize, carry heavy boxes, and he could drive. Mira thought for a second and said, "My logistics manager quit last week. It's a small role, tracking shipments, cleaning the warehouse, making sure things are labeled right. Pay is low, but it comes with a small apartment above the warehouse. Rent-free. Start Monday." Armand thought he was dreaming. He actually pinched himself. His son laughed. And in that moment, a guy who had been invisible for months became visible again. Not because someone gave him charity, because someone gave him a chance. He didn't just take the job. He owned it. Showed up early every day, stayed late, learned the inventory system in 2 weeks, cleaned the warehouse so well that visiting clients asked who was in charge. Within 6 months, Mira promoted him to facility manager. Within a year, he was running the entire warehouse operations for 3 locations. Here's the part that still gives me chills. 2 years later, at the company's annual dinner, Mira stood up and gave a speech. She talked about resilience. She talked about how Armand went from sleeping on a concrete floor to managing a 7-figure logistics budget. Then she handed him a small box. Inside was a key, not to an office, but to a house. A small 2-bedroom house she had bought and renovated for him and his son. She said, "You didn't just rebuild your life. You rebuilt my faith in people." Armand still lives in that house. His son is now 6 and has his own room with star stickers on the ceiling. Every year on December 17th, Armand buys 2 cups of noodles, puts one on his desk, and says a quiet thank you. Not because he's poor anymore, but because he never wants to forget that one midnight. One choice, one act of kindness, changed 2 lives forever. Call to action. If this story hit you even a little bit, watch this next video about another single parent who went from broke to boss in 1 year, and how they did it without luck.